a personal question. Do you ever feel like you should be further along by now? Like no matter how much journaling, meditating, or self-reflecting you do, you're still not moving forward in life? If you've been doing all of the right things, but still feel like your growth is hitting a ceiling, then you're in the right place. I'm gonna break down the real reason you're not moving forward in life, and it's not what you think. I'll show you the subconscious cycle you're unknowingly trapped in and what needs to shift to finally break free. So stay with me because this might change everything. So let's talk about this feeling of doing everything but still feeling stuck. And here's the thing, I work with a lot of emotionally aware, growth-minded women who show up, women who care, women who've done the inner work, who've been in and out of therapy, who've looked at their patterns and their behaviors and have been trying to change their life. But no matter how much work they do on themselves, I still end up hearing them say, why am I still not moving forward? And that stuckness feels and looks different to everyone, but here are some of the common things that I hear, and maybe you can relate to some of these things. They want to change something about their life so badly, but then they end up saying, oh, I'll do it when I'm more clear, or I'm more confident, or I'll just do it when I'm more aligned, and then that time never comes. They journal all of the time, but then they still feel emotionally exhausted. They wake up in the morning already overwhelmed about the day, even though their day is wide open, and they feel exhausted thinking about simple tasks like replying to an email or planning a lunch with their friends. They do the self-care to manage their stress and their anxieties, but they still feel like they're running on zero. They have deep desires to do something new or try something different, but then end up quitting after a day or two of going hard on it. And they tell themselves affirmations because they were told that they help, but they feel like lies, and they journal and journal, but nothing ever shifts. And no matter where they're at in their journey or how much work that they've done, it doesn't matter how much they actually desire wanting to change, they still end up cycling around the same patterns, and then they wonder, why does this keep happening? So if this feels familiar, stay tuned because I'm gonna go into what's happening under the surface that is continuously making this pattern repeat itself. So if you're new here, you should know that I am a clinical hypnotherapist and a subconscious mind expert, and everything I just explained is all a subconscious issue. And this is what I call the cycle of stuck. And once you see it, it is so hard to unsee it. So let's break down this cycle of stuck step by step. First, you feel this instant spark of inspiration. Maybe you see something, you watch something on TV, you hear something new that a friend started doing, and you feel this huge jolt of inspiration, a new offer idea, a new vision for yourself, something you want to try, a shift that you're ready to make, something that lights you up and you're like, hell yes, I want to do this. So you have that cycle of spark, and then you try to take action. So you do the thing, you do the first step, you download the program, or you take out your journal, or you start planning out your steps, or you start taking some sort of action that you think will move you forward. And then you feel subconscious resistance. You don't realize this, but it's subconscious resistance that kicks in that says something of like, nope, that's unfamiliar. I don't want to do that. And then you experiencing it as overthinking, feeling anxious, distracted, feeling frozen. So then you lose momentum, even though your spark of inspiration felt so potent in you. So because you're losing momentum, but you felt the spark of inspiration, you tell yourself, oh, you just need to get more clarity, or you just need to journal a little more, or you just need to do a little bit more inner work on yourself to get a little bit more aligned with the thing that you want. So then you sign up for another free thing or another free program, or you buy a different type of journal or a planner to get yourself organized and feeling more productive, hoping that it will fix the issue. But then nothing really shifts with this either. So then you end up blaming yourself or getting frustrated, or you end up feeling drained. So then you end up right back where you started, and you wait for the cycle to begin at one again until you feel another hit of deep, potent inspiration, and then the cycle continues and begins again. This is not your fault. This is not a character flaw. This is just a subconscious pattern that is playing out that you are totally unconscious, unknowingly happening under the surface for you. It feels exhausting and frustrating when you're not actually able to name the cycle and understand what is causing it. Everything I just described is a result of your subconscious programming, and the cycle of stuck happens when you have subconscious blocks and your conscious desires and your subconscious programming do not match. And I do a deep dive on this in another video, which I'll link here. But here's the thing no one tells you. Your subconscious doesn't care if you hit your goals. It doesn't care if you complete that program or if you master that morning routine that you want to do. Your subconscious mind only cares about keeping you safe. And to your subconscious, keeping you safe is keeping you familiar to what you've always experienced and what you've always had. So all of those ways that you consciously know will help move you forward in your life, your subconscious mind doesn't really care about it because they are unfamiliar to your subconscious, and your subconscious will always pull you back into the familiar no matter how much you deeply desire the changes that you're wanting to make. This is why you'll feel a huge spark of inspiration and then take a couple steps forward, but then never actually stick to your plan. It's not that you're not ready for it. It's that your subconscious mind isn't familiar with your next level you that you're trying to step into. So let me give you an example of this. Maybe you really want to start a business and you're so excited, you're feeling that huge rush of inspiration that you actually sit down and you write your business model and you start thinking of new offers and you feel this huge push to work towards this goal. So maybe you spend a couple of days actually feeling so energized and excited, but then at some point, the work that you have to do actually ends up feeling heavy. And even though you have this deep desire, you're like, oh my gosh, I really want this, part of you feels really heavy and you're procrastinating it, or it just doesn't feel aligned anymore. That is your subconscious resistance coming in, because let's say you don't have any experience in your subconscious of someone having a business, someone in your life, someone, a caretaker or a parent owning a business. Maybe your parents were always in corporate life and the 9-to-5 life, and maybe you heard them say like, that's what's stable and that's what's secure. So either you don't have any experiences, any knowns in your subconscious around what it's like to be a small business owner, and or you actually heard the opposite, that being a small business owner doesn't provide security and it's not safe, and that the 9-to-5 is the safest way to go. All of these experiences make up your subconscious programming. So when your conscious desire is, well, I want to own my own business, your subconscious programming does not align to that. So it kind of throws down an anchor and it actually resists you from making those changes in your life because it wants to replay out here what's happening in your subconscious. So it throws down that anchor and pumps the brakes to stop you from moving forward into unfamiliar territory. This is its way of trying to keep you in the same, which therefore it feels like is keeping you safe. And this model goes for any area of your life. If you're trying to make changes in your relationship, in your friendships, in your career, money changes, changes in your lifestyle, health changes, if you are trying to move forward in your life into uncharted territory, then you will always be brought to the same thing you've always known. This isn't a you problem. This is your subconscious doing what it does and keeping you in the same, in the familiar, so that it can keep you safe. It keeps you safe by keeping you stuck. So before we move forward with what to do with this awareness, drop a comment and let me know which part of the cycle do you find yourself getting stuck in the most. Okay, so now the question you've been waiting for: how do I change this? And I will tell you what not to do first. Do not force it and do not try to push harder. These are conscious actions that use your conscious mind, and you cannot change a subconscious problem with a conscious level strategy. This is why all of the times you've taken out a new journal, or you've tried talking about it, tried venting about it, tried taking a different approach, tried changing your mindset, that is why these things never worked before, because these are conscious level strategies to change, but you're up against a subconscious problem. The shift begins by seeing the pattern with compassion. This awareness is actually the first step in change, because you can't change something that you don't see. So not only seeing and identifying yourself in the problem, but seeing that the problem is not a you problem, it's a subconscious problem, and that it's actually just your subconscious trying to protect you. It's a protective mechanism. This allows you to see what's happening in your life through a compassionate lens. We can't really change ourselves by criticizing ourselves into change. Our best way to change is if we can see what's happening through the eyes of compassion and gently decide what to do from there. And then it's not about forcing the change, it's about getting your subconscious on board. Working with your subconscious to create safety around that thing that it thinks is unfamiliar. That's where true effortless momentum comes in, and that's when you stop fighting yourself. That's when you stop getting in your own way and changing your life, and moving forward in your life stops feeling like such an uphill battle. Here's what that might look like. Let's go back to our entrepreneur example. So if you grew up in a household where maybe your parents were business owners and you don't have any programming in your subconscious mind around being a business owner, let's say all you've known is that your parents worked in corporate and they always talked about how that was the safest option for you and maybe the most secure, then your subconscious programming might look like this. This is what causes that cycle of stuck, because your conscious mind wants to become an entrepreneur, but your subconscious has all of this programming that says that it's not safe, that actually corporate is the most secure option. So you have a discrepancy between your conscious desires and what your subconscious programming says. When this happens, your subconscious will throw down that anchor, press on the brakes, and anytime you want to move forward with this desire, you will be up against your subconscious resistance, and you will feel that as procrastination, freezing, feeling anxious, second guessing yourself, feeling overwhelmed. This is how we experience the subconscious resistance. So if we want to break out of it, we have to give your subconscious new information that being an entrepreneur is freedom, is flexibility. We can show it maybe a mental rehearsal of you being a successful business owner, and guess what? It's now going to automate your behaviors, your thoughts, your actions to align with this. This now becomes the new programming your subconscious wants to keep familiar, and because it wants to keep you safe, it's going to try to match your external life with what it feels like is this version of familiar. You will feel a natural desire to work towards the things you want in your life because your subconscious is trying to make your external world match the programming it has, because that congruency between the two is what makes it feel like you're safe. So what that model shows you is that you don't actually just need to change how you act, you need to change how you feel when you act. Because when your subconscious is on board, how you feel about the actions you're taking feels completely different. It doesn't feel like you're trying to walk up Mount Everest. You feel effortless. You take actions without feeling like you have bricks on your feet. You move through the actions, and there's this flow that happens because your actions, your behavior, your thoughts are all being driven by your subconscious. And your subconscious now has information that is showing you, hey, we can be an entrepreneur. We know what that's like. It's flexible. It's freedom. Let's keep doing that. We need you in your external world to match what's going on in here. So come on, let's take the actions. Let's do the things. We need to become an entrepreneur because that's what we think is real and familiar and safe. So come on, let's do it. Let's do it. So the changes you actually take in your life end up coming from this energy, instead of the energy of, oh my gosh, I want to do this. And then 88% of you is saying, wait, what? Huh? No, we can't do that. That's unfamiliar. Why is she trying to do that? Alert, alert, alert. So this is the change that you need. It's not about changing your actions per se. It is, but you can't change your actions unless you get your subconscious on board. So you need to make sure you're doing the subconscious work if you're going to make any changes in your life, or if you're trying to move forward in any area of your life. So really, you need to rewire the part of yourself that's holding yourself back. You need to access your subconscious mind. And I do that with my clients through hypnosis, because with hypnosis, it gives us access to the subconscious, and it actually allows us to give the subconscious mind the new information that it needs to align with your conscious desires. We either identify and replace the limiting beliefs that are holding you back, or we change your subconscious identity by showing it the things that you want, so that way it's no longer putting on the brakes when you're trying to make those changes in your life and the changes feel more effortless. So if this video felt like I was in your head, it's because you're not alone in this. This is a pattern, this is a cycle I see constantly with my clients, especially high achieving women, emotionally aware women, self aware women who've been doing the work and want to change their life. So, with that, I invite you to reflect what's something that you've been wanting to change in your life but haven't been able to follow through on, and can you see yourself in the cycle of stuck? If so, you might be up against a subconscious block, and this will be good for you to know because then you can stop, one, blaming yourself for the problem, and two, stop spinning your wheels on conscious level strategies like journaling and mindset hacks that never actually penetrate deep enough into the subconscious mind to generate the kind of changes that you're wanting for yourself. So if something clicked while you're watching this and you're thinking, okay, I see my cycle, but now what? Then identifying your limiting beliefs is going to be a really, really awesome next step for you. Because when you know what limiting beliefs are running the show under the surface, then you can finally see where your subconscious blocks are that are holding you back. So if you're ready to take this deeper, I'll walk you through exactly how to do that in this next video. It's simple, it's eye-opening, and it's where real momentum actually starts. So I'll see you over there.